flowers in the fields, to the tallest of the towers that fall and rise. 1776, and names upon the list of all the ones who gave until they died. Rise to the top of the world, America, America, don't you cry.
I'm Garridy Hamilton, and this is Pursuit of Truth. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to Youth Revolt, the network of young conservative millennials that want to get the message out when they don't have the opportunity to in society. Too many times, millennials and people of our age are being tricked by the schools, by the media, and by society in general, and this is a way they get their message out. So catch this show on Youth Revolt coming soon. On the previous few shows, we've talked about different types of propaganda, but tonight we're just going to talk about the presidential election. We've had two states, both Iowa and New Hampshire, happen so far, so tonight's just going to be kind of an overview and a look ahead into what could happen in the future. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, you know that Ted Cruz is the guy that I'm going to be supporting in this election cycle, and I'm very glad that he has a chance to win the whole thing. Hopefully he does, because we need someone who knows the Constitution inside and out in office. For those of you that have been paying attention today, you probably know that Thomas Sowell endorsed Ted Cruz for president, and that is probably, being the conservative that he is, one of the biggest endorsements of the cycle so far. Ted Cruz has got a lot of endorsements, and while there's been big names for Rubio, like Rick Santorum, Donald Trump has gotten some big names. You look at Ted Cruz, what conservatives he's got, Glenn Beck, Phil Robertson, and now Thomas Sowell, and you see that the real conservatives, even those who haven't publicly endorsed him, people like Mark Levin, you can tell they're clearly leaning toward Ted Cruz. However, you probably won't see Ted Cruz getting endorsements from a lot of Washington insiders. Now, something I don't think I mentioned on Facebook was that going into the Iowa caucuses, I had three other candidates along with Ted Cruz that I felt deserved secondary support, at least an honorable mention. Among those three were Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, and Ben Carson. Now, we obviously know that Mike Huckabee and Rand Paul have dropped out, and it's unfortunate. I thought Mike Huckabee was a great debater. I obviously didn't like his view on Common Core, but other than that, there wasn't really much bad about him that I saw. Rand Paul definitely had a good tax plan. He's a strong conservative, but you know what? We need him in the Senate, and as valuable as he would be as a vice president, he's more valuable to stay in the Senate, so it was probably for the best that he dropped out. And then there's Ben Carson, who is still in the race, but I don't know if he'll be here much longer. It concerns me that he's a little mad at Ted Cruz for the little stir, accusing, Ted Cruz's campaign of saying that Ben Carson was going to take a break, and according to Trump, supposedly Cruz stole Carson's votes. Now, we know that CNN reported this news first, and the Ted Cruz campaign jumped on it. But most about Ben Carson is good, other than his energy. He needs more energy. He needs to be more enthusiastic. And he's touched on it in the debates. He says he doesn't want to jump up and down and be mean. Well, you can still have energy and not jump up and down and be mean. And so I think he needs more energy, but overall, he's a good candidate. Now, Donald Trump seems to be dominating this election cycle as of right now in the race. But we conservatives can still admit he is not the candidate that we should be giving the nomination to. When he first came onto the scene, he was very intriguing. I think he started the big discussion on illegal immigration. He wants to build a wall. We need a wall. He is very good on the points that we cannot be letting refugees from ISIS-infested countries into the United States. He is not politically correct, and he is not a Washington insider. However, it can be clearly seen that as time has gone by, and other candidates, whether it be Rubio, Cruz, or Carson, have caught up to him a little bit, he's changed. The non-conservative aspects of him are coming out. We're starting to see. After he lost Iowa, he's a sore loser. He seems to be getting a little whiny, let's just say, for lack of a better word. He's also turned on his previous allies, like Cruz, who could have been a great match for him, but now they've become big enemies. Even people such as Mark Levin have seen the change of Trump. Mark Levin defended Donald Trump at first, but now he's starting to wonder who he is. I've been exactly the same. I remember in September, I went to a Donald Trump rally here in Oklahoma City. It was great. The speech was great. I was excited about Donald Trump, but he wasn't my number one candidate. But as the race progressed, it could be clearly seen that he was being exposed as other candidates caught up to him in the polls. Let's be clear, though. Whether we like Donald Trump or not, whether he's a conservative or an establishment, no matter what he is on the Republican side, we know he is not Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. He's not a criminal, and he's not a socialist. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders will undoubtedly drive this country into the ground. But with Donald Trump, there is still some hope he could get us back on a better track. Even though conservatives like me still would prefer Cruz, Carson, even Rubio over Trump, we cannot afford to have a Democratic president because, as Ted Cruz said in the previous debate, now not only does the presidency hang in the balance of this election, but also the Supreme Court with the death of the conservative Justice Scalia. Our country is in such bad shape right now that the last thing we need is to have a liberal, progressive, radical shift in power on the Supreme Court. Whoever's the next president is going to likely be appointing multiple justices to the Supreme Court, maybe 2 to 3. We've already lost probably the strongest conservative on the Supreme Court. So imagine the changes if we have a Democrat who makes the shift of power so unbalanced, with so many liberals and people who their job is to defend the Constitution, but they simply won't. There is a chance that we could have maybe a 7-2 balance of radical liberals versus conservatives in the Supreme Court. That would be what sparked the Second American Revolution. But if conservatives can win the presidency, imagine a 7-2 ratio in the favor of conservative principles. That could be what it takes to get the country back to the way the founders intended. That could be what makes America great again. I'm Garridy Hamilton, and this is Pursuit of Truth.